Hi everyone, today we explore the nexus between generosity, philanthropy, and capacity building, shedding light on the transformative power of giving. Join us on a conversation that goes beyond the ordinary, revealing stories of transformation and impact with Charles Kojo Vandyck, Head of Capacity and Development at the West Africa Civil Society Institute, WACSI. He will be sharing insight into how acts of generosity can strengthen individual skills and community resources. Welcome to the Ubuntu Giving podcast. Hello everyone, hello generous souls. Welcome to another episode, an empowering episode of the Ubuntu Giving podcast. This is where we celebrate generosity in all its forms, and today we're about to explore the nexus between generosity and capacity building. My name is Bidemi, your guide on this journey, and today we have a very special guest, someone I've been trying to get on this podcast for a while now, Charles Kojo Vandyck. He's the head of capacity and development at WACSI, and together we are about to unlock the secrets of how acts of kindness can fortify skills and uplift communities. Charles, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Bidemi. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Before we go into the podcast proper, I need you to choose between 1 and 21, and then you answer 2 questions around generosity. So?
Okay, 4.
4. Okay, let's look for number 4. How do you feel about helping others?
Beautiful question. For me, helping others is an opportunity to share yourself. It's an opportunity to do things outside yourself, and also an opportunity to make a difference. So I'm always excited about helping others. I've learned a lot about myself from helping others.
Oh, wow, that's a new take. Do you want to share like a story?
I have so many stories about that, but for me, I've always been moved by my ability to help people. They cannot necessarily help me. I feel there's a certain genuine feeling I have in my heart when I help somebody, not wanting to get something back in return, but just helping somebody because the person needs help. But I always feel I get blessed by doing that. And I can share specific stories. One of the things I tend to do often is to share opportunities, especially in young people, because I feel when I was coming up in the development space, a lot of people also gave me opportunities. So I feel now I have the opportunity to share opportunities with young people. And I don't hesitate to share. And I'm not really looking for people to say thank you. Because of you, I got this job. It's nice to say that. But for me, I do it because I feel somebody did it for me. And it's for me, it's my obligation to do it for others.
Right. So let me just use this opportunity to also say thank you for all the resources you've been sharing with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
No
Okay, so you can pick. Yeah, you can pick another question now, if that's okay.
7.
7. Why 7?
It's always been one of my favorite numbers. The beginning of the week, and it's one of those divine numbers, lucky number 7.
I know. But why did you pick 4 the first time?
Honestly, I don't really know why, but that was the number that came to my head at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving to 7. What's the funniest thing that has happened to you while trying to help someone this year?
Oh my goodness, funniest thing. Okay. I tried to help somebody with trying to access a job opportunity. And I I help the person develop a CV, and I help the person develop the cover letter, and prepped for the interview. But the funny thing is, I got the sense from the person that because the person knew that I knew the people who worked in that space, what the person expected was not that kind of help. What the person expected was for me to give a word to the people to say, employ this guy.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when he submitted and got an opportunity to be in the interviews, he made a certain remark that made them not employ him. And his remark was that, he feels that the support that are given to students should go beyond grooming and CV support and career guidance, and that people like him who have first degrees are entitled to be listed in management programs.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. That came as a shock because I didn't get that sense from him when I was helping. But people had their own, and my friend who was the CEO had this backstory, so was waiting for probably a much more humble kind of thing. And he said, "No, Charles, this guy's attitude, so he's brilliant, but you cannot substitute character for brilliance. So this is not the person I want in my organization." So that, I don't know if it's funny, but it happened this year.
It happened. True, yeah. True. I mean, that's a tip right there for anyone, looking for opportunities. So now we are going right into the podcast, and let's touch on your personal philosophy and approach, right? Let's talk about your principles, the principles that guide your work. You've talked about how you share opportunities with young people, which is amazing. I see that as one of the rarest forms of generosity. I love to do that. If I see an opportunity, I'm thinking, who can I share this with, right? But can you share with us, your personal philosophy when it comes to capacity building? How do you intertwine the principles of generosity with your strategies and initiatives at WACSI?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I always say is that everybody has something unique about them. Everybody has a certain gift, and it's up to you to unlock your gift. And the only way you can unlock your gift is to build your capacity. And so that's one of my principles. My principles is that building your capacity comes with personal responsibility. That's number one. Number two, you need to have a sense of humility to understand that, you have to learn. And you have to have a learning kind of spirit. And so one of the things I always look out for when I'm mentoring or working with people is, does this person have a learning spirit? Does this person actually want to learn and grow? Right. Another thing I also look out for is people who are willing to go beyond their limitations. And this may sound interesting or weird because people say, but it's your limitation. How do you go beyond it? One of the things I say when it comes to capacity, you have to be able to exceed your own limitations. And how do you do that? Right? You do that by working with others and building others. And I think that's something that is lost within capacity building. As you are working with others and building others, you build yourself. Right? And I've benefited a lot from that. So working in WACSI, hosting interns, over the years I've met a lot of interns. And a lot of the times the interns tell me that, "Oh, thank you, Charles, for supporting me. Thank you, Charles, for this." But they don't know that I've also learned so much from them. Right? I've taken a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge from them. I've also become a much better person just getting to know them. So that's what really capacity building is about. It's about working with others. It's about strengthening, taking personal responsibility for your growth. Right? It's about learning, consistent learning. The day you think you have arrived, right, is the day you lose opportunities. I always believe that you should always be looking out there to learn, to grow. And for me, these are my principles. In terms of the way I work. So I try to apply these principles, whether I'm a facilitator, right, whether I'm training, right, whether I am being mentored or coached, whether I have a speaking engagement, right, whether I'm doing a certain project. For me, these are the principles that I apply. Personal responsibility, working with others and for others, right, and learning. Right? And I believe these are the three principles that have been guiding me.
Wow. I mean, that takes me back to the one time I mentioned, I shared with someone how generosity is like a circle. You don't, when you give, somehow it comes back to you. Somehow you're receiving while you are giving. Let's move on from still on your philosophy, and I would love to hear from you, Charles. If you could share like a specific project or an instance where generosity played a key role in capacity building. Was there like it could be a program, for example. How did it shape the community or the people involved or the initiative itself?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So there was a time, some time ago, where there was an issue in Ghana where there was this huge explosion, where at a gas station, fuel station, a lot of people died. And I remember a friend of mine was doing this major campaign on trying to mobilize resources because it was a huge catastrophe. A lot of people died. Just surrounding, and a lot of infrastructure was lost. A lot of families were affected. And I remember my friend coming to me and saying, we need to mobilize. But how do we do this? How do we get the support that we need? What do we do? And this is where sometimes capacity comes in. Because I worked in the development space, I was able to point to him that, look, these are some of the NGOs that have done this kind of mobilization before. Let's go and talk to them, right? These are some of the people that have funded some humanitarian work. Let's go and have a conversation with them. But before we go have a conversation with them, we need to pitch this idea, right? We need to really sell what we are doing, right? We need to have our story, and our story should align to their story. And I remember working with this group really to come out with what we called a case for support. I mean, it was clear things that happened, but they had a certain objective. They were looking beyond the immediate humanitarian needs to actually raise money to support the children of the people that were affected. So build some sort of scholarship fund. Most people were looking at the humanitarian need, paying hospital bills, etc., food for these families, those whose houses were nearby, shelter. But they were looking at the long-term education needs because they thought, look at the amount of adults that have passed. They have children, they have people they are responsible for. Who's going to take care of their school? So I have helped them to build a case for support, help them to pitch it to specific targeted people in the way that they got support to do this. And for me, the learning there was, everything that you do, yes, you may be trying to push a specific, very good cause, but just because you have a good cause, it doesn't necessarily mean people support it. People always support things, right, that they can connect to, but also things that are coordinated really well in a way that shows that you have a certain vision of what you're doing, but also it shows some transparency and accountability. So I remember as we went through that process of building the case for support, the pitching, who to target, the various messages, the results came out of that. But interestingly, fast forward 2 years after that, this same group have now been able to transfer this knowledge based on their experience to other community mobilizers. Right? And for me, that is the multiply effect of capacity building. Right? To really say that, look, this whole thing about giving is not just about getting people's resources, or their in-kind support. That's not what it's about. It's about trying to get people to feel that they are part of a community and that they can actually put something in that community that will leave a lasting legacy, something really significant, right? And so for me, that's one of the things that touched me for a very long time. A lot of people sometimes say, "Oh, capacity building," but I always say capacity building when it is focused, when it's aligned to a very clear outcome, right? It's a very powerful tool, and it helps. It really, really helps people. And when you're building capacity, it's not about being the guy, the person who knows everything, or everybody comes to know, but it's about how do you create a multiplier effect? How do you build someone's capacity so that they can also build others' capacity and transfer those same principles, so that it's like a chain reaction. For me, that is for me that was something that has always stuck to me.
I mean, that's a very inspiring story right there, Charles. I love how you were able to, sort of cause impacts, not just for that moment, but also, for other community mobilizers. I want us to touch on collaboration in philanthropy and capacity building. I know collaboration plays a critical role. I mean, that's one of our values here at Giving Tuesday. We collaborate as much as possible. Partnership is key. So, in your view, what role does collaboration play in enhancing the effectiveness, and sustainability, right, of philanthropy-driven or generosity-driven capacity building projects?
Absolutely. Collaboration for me has the greatest advantage. It's unfortunate, but people always talk about competitive advantage. But within our sector, we're dealing with human life. It's about collaborative advantage. And what does that mean? It means recognizing that everyone has assets. But that asset is not necessarily money. Right? So when you're in the philanthropy space and you're responding to specific community issues, if you go into that space with the lens of only cash, you miss so much collaborative opportunities. I've gone into many communities and people have amazing assets. So there's been a storm. A classroom has broken down. Your reaction is go to the local government, alert the government, which is true. Make noise about it, let the government come and rebuild. But when will they do that? They have to go through a bureaucracy. And then you talk to the committee and say, but wait a minute, in this committee, don't we have carpenters? Yes. We have masons. Okay. We have a builder. We do. Do we have somebody who sells cement? Okay. Is there somebody who's a carpenter? All of a sudden, you realize that you have the tools, right? And you have the assets that can actually help you to rebuild this thing. Maybe not as the best way you want, but something that can be built decently in the interim for the students who lost the whole classroom. So sometimes I feel we miss collaborative opportunities because we are thinking, what money is this person bringing? Right? What is the visibility brand of this person? Who is this person? We get into the logos and things. And so that's all we see. How much can this person sponsor? But we miss the opportunity of working with people who have other assets that we don't value, but actually are the ones that can get us to do great things. So their networks, their relationship with community members, their ability to connect you with certain people that on an ordinary day, you will not be able to find them or even connect with them, or they won't even give you the time of day. How do we value this? And then when we work with all these people, right, and in a collaborative effort, do we recognize them? And how do we recognize them? How do we appreciate those that we collaborate with? Right? What kind of relationship do we have with them? Right. So for me, collaboration is everything. It helps, but you see, you cannot collaborate if you don't recognize each other assets and you don't have respect for each other. If there's a certain power dynamic, it doesn't work. Philanthropy is about breaking down power dynamics. It's about recognizing that you are because I am, and I am because you are. That is what philanthropy is about. Otherwise, we can't achieve the kind of things we are achieving in terms of responding to issues, building the resilience of our communities. And we need to understand that the diversity of philanthropy and in its various forms means that you cannot be an island unto yourself. You need to work with others and for others. So for me, you cannot say you're doing generosity if you do it by yourself, right? And it's clear. And even some of the most richest people in this world, high net worth individuals, look at them, what they are doing now. They are collaborating. Back in the days, Bill Gates used to want to do things himself. But last time I read, he was in Nigeria doing some work, philanthropy work with Dangote. So they are even beginning to appreciate that it's not just about having that money or that influence, but it's also about the power of the networks and the power of other assets that other people have. If you bring all that together, you can actually be more effective.
I hear you. Thank you so much, Charles. I mean, if there's one thing I believe, it's in the fact that generosity comes in different forms, and we just have to get creative with how we go about some of our visions or our plans, and maybe really see that there are values to these forms of generosity, just like you mentioned. This is my final question. Let's talk about the future. I'm curious about your view for the future, Charles. How do you envision this landscape of capacity building evolving in West Africa, especially, if we view it from the lens of generosity effort?
I'm really excited about the opportunities that can come through a lot of the work that platforms like you are doing, GivingTuesday, and our, should I say, conscientized, mindset about the power of giving, which is innate. It's nothing new, but we are now taking it to a different dimension, right? Basically linked clearly to our communal spirit and the fact that we've always overcome our challenges, huge challenges. I always say that the Africans were born in crisis. Crisis is the normal thing for us. We've been in crisis, but we've always found a way to navigate that crisis and to elevate over that crisis. So for me, the future is extremely bright. Now we have technology to really push the agenda, right? We have a group of young people now that are more connected than ever, which is key because now we're sharing similar stories. We are helping each other. We are finding ourselves in the same spaces. And so there's a certain exchange that's going on, which is really healthy for this content. Thirdly, documentation. We are having this podcast. Right. Back in the days, a lot of the things we were doing, you don't find it anywhere. Now we are documenting. It's going to become part of the mainstream learning. We start to listen to our own voices for a change. Or we listen to people with similar voices like us that we can identify. So we are making capacity building real. Capacity building beyond rhetoric, beyond tools from the West, beyond frameworks. We are seeing capacity building from our own eyes and from our own experience. We're building each other's capacity, and we are seeing the fruits of that, right? So the future is extremely bright. But one thing I would say, I think for us to really get the future that that we all should be proud of, is to work with more genuine authenticity. Believe in what we have and not always think that the grass is green on the other side. We have something. How do we harness that, what we have as Africans, right? To really push this philanthropic culture in a way that makes our communities more resilient. The communities, I'm not talking about geographic communities, but also communities of alumni associations, communities of schools, communities, of clubs, communities, different types of communities, much more resilient than it is now. So for me, the future is extremely bright. I know 10, 20, 30 years from now, the contents, the tools, the knowledge will be something that will be very much from us and building us, which I'm really excited about.
I am too. I am. Thank you so much, Charles. I mean, we are now in a new segment.
Oh, wow. That was fast.
This particular segment is the one that I'm like, God. But I mean, it's new, it's fresh. And yes, once in a while, I also would like to feel the way my guest is feeling. How does it feel to be answering this question? So this is where you ask me your questions. If you have anything you would like to, ask about, is there a conversation you are curious about, for example, or maybe about Giving Tuesday? Giving Tuesday, if I'm able to, respond, I will. If I'm not, I'll say, okay, I'm going to go back to the people I work with and come back to you. So,
okay.
To you now.
Okay. So I know that you work with Giving Tuesday. I know that you also work for the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists, right? Right. So let me make you a bit uncomfortable, right? So what is your vision for APVA?
The vision for APVA is to strengthen the audio industry. So how do I explain this? You see how you talked about documenting. We have very, very, I don't know if we have data around the audio creative sector on the continent. And that is what APVA is trying to fill. We want to amplify the African voice. But beyond that, beyond this, the big event that we do that tells the whole world we have African creatives that are doing really great, we also want to strengthen the industry and maybe put some structure to what we see. Why don't we have an academy, for example? Why don't we do master classes and help podcasters, turn their hobbies into, viable businesses? And it's the thing about APVA is everyone on the team, we are all doing this. We're not being paid. We're pulling our resources together. It's really amazing to see what APVA has become. I'm really excited about what it could be. There are different dimensions at the moment. There is the community, which is the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. There is the awards, which is the African Podcast and Voice Awards. And we are soon to launch a repository that is said to be the largest library of practice scripts for voice artists on the continent. And the list goes on. And we're quite ambitious.
No, you are. I mean, I'm super impressed. And
Thank
really
you.
wish you and your colleagues.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Okay. So you've asked me this question, right? No more questions.
No more.
All right. As we wrap up this enlightening episode, I want to thank you, Charles. Thank you so much for sharing, your insights, the potential of generosity in capacity building. And to our listeners, remember that every act of generosity is a spark that can ignite profound change. Join us in fostering this culture. You can find us across all social media platforms as Giving Tuesday Africa, or you could reach out to us, africa@givingtuesday.org. We'll be happy to collaborate with you. We'll be happy to amplify your stories. Until next time, this is Bidemi Adedire. Bye, guys.